The alien sky was dark purple, and soft green lights danced above the distant hills. Commander Ethan Ward stood near the edge of the cliff, scanning the horizon. Behind him, the rest of the team explored the ruins of the underground city, hidden under layers of rock and time. They had come for research, not war. It was supposed to be a peaceful mission to study the planet's ancient life. The planet was calm. The machines were working. Everything had been safe until the ground shook. A deep rumble filled the air. Cracks opened in the stone floor. Dust rose high. Walls trembled. "Earthquake!" someone shouted. The ground broke open beneath them. Ethan turned around just in time to see Dr. Liana Miles falling into the darkness below. "Liana!" he shouted. He jumped in after her without thinking. The fall was fast, and his military exoskeleton absorbed most of the shock. He landed hard, but safe. Around him, metal beams and broken stone covered the floor. Sparks flew from a broken panel nearby. A few steps away, he saw her, Liana, half covered in rubble. "Liana! Can you hear me?" Ethan ran to her. Her face was pale. She tried to speak, but winced in pain. "My legs!" "I can't move them," she said, breathing heavily. Ethan checked her legs. They were trapped under a metal beam. The exosuit gave him strength beyond normal human limits. He grabbed the beam with both arms, his joints whirring and lights blinking on the suit's arms. With a deep breath, he pulled. The beam groaned and lifted. He pushed it aside and gently pulled Liana out. Her legs were badly hurt. She couldn't walk. "Leave me," she whispered. "The exit is too far. The others, they need you." Ethan looked at her and shook his head. "No, I'm not leaving you. Ever." She stared at him. Her eyes were full of pain and fear. "I'll slow you down," she said. "I don't care," he replied. "We're getting out. Together." He carefully lifted her in his arms. His suit adjusted the weight and locked his stance to balance her safely. She was light, but the journey ahead was heavy with danger. They moved slowly through the collapsed tunnel. The lights above flickered. Dust filled the air. Ethan activated the visor map on his helmet and checked the route to the surface. The main elevator was destroyed. The nearest exit was 3 days away, on foot. Liana's head rested on his shoulder. She was awake, but her body was weak. "You don't have to do this," she whispered again. "I do," Ethan said softly. "You'd do the same for me." She didn't answer, but he felt her hand lightly touch his chest. A silent thank you. The tunnel led them into a narrow cave that opened into the outside world. Bright blue trees swayed in the wind. Strange, glowing birds flew over the cliffside. The planet was beautiful, but it was also wild. Ethan kept walking, one careful step at a time. The exoskeleton adjusted to the terrain, climbing over rocks, sliding through narrow spaces, and avoiding sharp crystals that stuck out from the ground. By evening, they found shelter under a large overhanging rock. The wind picked up and strange, distant sounds echoed from the hills. Ethan set her down gently and checked her wounds. He cleaned them and wrapped her legs with medical tape from his survival pack. Liana winced, but didn't complain. "You always take care of everyone," she said softly. He smiled, tired. "It's kind of my job." "I thought you were just a soldier," she said. "I was," he replied. "Now I carry scientists through alien jungles." She laughed a little, then winced again. "Try to sleep," Ethan said. "We have a long way to go." He sat beside her, back against the rock wall, holding his plasma rifle in case anything came close. Liana slowly closed her eyes. The stars above them began to appear, shining brighter than those on Earth. Ethan looked up, his thoughts heavy. His body was strong, but the journey ahead would test more than muscle. Still, he made a promise. To her and to himself, he would carry her. For one step for 1 mile. For however long it took, even if she begged him to leave, he never would. He sat with his back against the cold rock, holding his plasma rifle in one hand and Liana close with the other. The wind outside the cave blew softly, and glowing insects danced in the dark. Strange animal sounds came from far away, but nothing came close. Still, Ethan stayed alert. Liana lay on a flat piece of cloth beside him. Her face looked peaceful now, but every so often she twitched from pain. Her legs were still swollen, and her breathing was shallow. Ethan checked her pulse. It was weak, but steady. The exosuit gave him strength and protection, but it couldn't fix broken bones, and it couldn't heal the person he cared about most. Hours passed slowly. When morning came, a soft light entered the cave. The trees outside sparkled with dew, and the alien sky turned a gentle orange. Ethan looked down at Liana. She was awake, watching him. "You didn't sleep," she said. He gave a small smile. "Didn't want to take any chances. You're going to burn out if you keep pushing like this." "I've gone longer," he said. "Besides, I had an important patient to guard." Liana smiled weakly. She tried to sit up, but failed. Her legs didn't respond. "Still no feeling?" Ethan asked. "None. Maybe some tingling." "That's not a good sign." Ethan looked away. He hated seeing her like this. Back at the base, she was always full of energy, talking about plants, alien life, and strange growth patterns in her soft, excited voice. She had once made a flower bloom by singing to it. Now, she couldn't even stand. "I should have stayed." "In the lab?" she muttered. "And missed the fun adventure?" Ethan joked. She gave a tired laugh. "I told you I wasn't meant for field work." "Well, lucky for you, I am." He stood up and scanned the surroundings. The map on his visor showed the path ahead, through a forest, across a wide rocky valley, then into a canyon that led to the signal tower. If he could reach the tower, he could call the rescue team. Liana tried again to speak. "Ethan, you don't have to keep doing this." "Yes, I do," he said. "There's still a chance. If you drop me off somewhere safe, you can move faster. You might reach the tower sooner. I don't want you risking your life for me." Ethan walked over and knelt beside her. "Liana," he said, looking into her eyes, "I'm not leaving you, even if I have to carry you all the way home. That's final." She opened her mouth to argue, but stopped. She saw the seriousness in his face. Not anger, just quiet, strong determination. She gave a small nod. Ethan gently picked her up again. The suit adjusted, the arms locking into balance mode, the legs strengthening for the long walk ahead. Liana's arms went around his neck, weak but trusting. The day was harder than the one before. They moved through thick alien trees, vines glowing blue and purple hanging down like ribbons. Some trees had soft lights that moved when touched. In other times, it might have amazed them. But now, every minute counted. A group of small creatures watched them from a branch. They looked like floating jellyfish with eyes and little wings. They made no sound, only stared. Liana whispered, "I think they're curious about us." Ethan smiled. "They probably wonder why I'm carrying you instead of flying." They walked for hours. At noon, Ethan stopped to rest. His muscles were strong thanks to the suit, but his mind was tired. The weight of Liana wasn't heavy, but the pressure of keeping her alive was. Liana looked up at him. "You okay?" He nodded. "Just need a break." She took out a nutrition bar from his belt pouch. "Here, you need to eat." He raised an eyebrow. "You're feeding me now?" "Someone has to take care of the hero," she said with a grin. They shared a quiet laugh. After a short rest, they moved again. This time, Liana told stories, funny ones from past missions. Ethan listened, and for a while the weight didn't feel so heavy. By sunset, they reached the edge of a deep valley. Below, strange lights moved under the ground, like rivers of color. The cliff was steep, but Ethan found a narrow path down. They reached a flat area and made camp for the second night. Ethan set Liana down gently and wrapped a heat blanket around her. She looked up at him. "You're doing the impossible, Ethan." He sat beside her, his body aching but his heart steady. "I'm just doing what humans do best," he said. "What's that?" "Not giving up." Liana looked at him with quiet respect. And for the first time, she didn't ask him to leave her. She believed he would make it, because he was human. And humans carry each other, no matter what. The next morning, dark clouds began to cover the alien sky. The colors were not normal. Flashes of green and red lightning moved silently through the clouds. The wind was heavy. Ethan looked up and frowned. "That's not a normal storm," he said. Liana opened her eyes. "Magnetic storm," she whispered. "I read about them in the planet files. It can mess with electronics." Ethan checked his exosuit systems. A warning blinked in the corner of his visor. "Power dropping. Sensors. Unstable. We need to find shelter." "Fast," he said. He picked Liana up once again, and the two began moving along the valley floor. The wind pushed hard against him. Dust and leaves flew through the air. The glowing jellyfish-like creatures they had seen before were gone, hiding. Perhaps. The storm was getting closer. A loud hum filled the sky, and a sudden flash of red lightning hit the ground nearby. The shockwave shook the ground, and Ethan almost lost his balance. "There!" Liana pointed to something in the distance, a half-buried metal shape in the side of a hill. Ethan ran toward it. It was an old alien escape pod, probably left behind, centuries ago. Its door was half open, and inside it was dark, but strong enough to protect them. Ethan stepped inside, careful not to hit Liana's legs. The pod smelled old and dusty. He closed the door behind them just as the storm hit full force. Outside, the wind screamed. Lightning flashed again and again. The suit's visor turned black for a second, then returned. "Suit systems are failing," Ethan said. Liana looked at the suit's control panel. "You need to shut down non-essential functions, save battery. Keep only the support and strength. Modules." Ethan nodded and followed her advice. The room was quiet, except for the storm outside. He sat down, laying Liana gently beside him on a soft mat. She was shivering slightly. He wrapped a heat blanket around her and checked her legs. "No change," she said, trying to sound strong. "But I don't feel worse." "That's good," Ethan said. He checked the battery levels. Only 20% power remained in the exosuit. He'd have to use it carefully now. They rested in the pod for hours while the storm raged on. Strange lights moved across the walls like dancing shadows. Liana stared at them, her mind drifting. "You know," she said softly, "when I joined this mission, I thought it would be boring." "Boring?" Ethan laughed. "On an alien planet?" "I thought I'd sit in a lab and study leaves all day," she replied with a small smile. "I didn't think I'd end up being carried across mountains by a soldier in a giant robot suit." Ethan looked at her. "I didn't think I'd be carrying a botanist who knows how to fix suit systems in a magnetic storm." They both smiled. For a moment. The storm outside seemed far away. Liana sat up a little, resting against the pod wall. Her face was pale, but her eyes were bright. "Ethan," she said seriously, "I want to say something." He looked at her, waiting. "I'm not going to ask you to leave me again. You've done more than anyone could. And I believe in you. I believe you'll get us out of here." Ethan nodded, touched by her words. "We will get out. Together." She took a deep breath. "Then let's plan. What's the path from here?" He showed her the map on his visor. "After the valley, there's a canyon. It's narrow but safe. On the other side is the old signal tower. If I reach it, I can send an emergency message to the orbit team. And how far is it? 2 more days, maybe less if we push. She looked at the battery level. That power won't last that long. Ethan's face turned serious. I'll carry you without it if I have to. She didn't argue this time. Instead, she reached out and gently touched his hand. You're the strongest person I've ever known, she said. Ethan didn't answer. He didn't need to. The storm began to fade. The wind slowed. The sky turned a lighter gray. It was time to move again. Ethan stood and adjusted the suit. He picked up Liana carefully. The suit's servos buzzed faintly. Less power now, but still enough. As they stepped out of the pod, the world was quiet. No birds, no wind. Just the sound of Ethan's slow, strong steps on the rocks. Behind them, the storm clouds drifted away. Ahead of them, the canyon waited. And beyond it, the signal tower and hope. The canyon was narrow and dark. Tall, rocky walls rose on both sides, cutting off the light. Ethan moved slowly but steadily, his exoskeleton suit carrying the heavy weight of Liana in his arms. His muscles hummed with power, but the battery warning on his visor blinked more urgently now. Only 10% power remained. The air was thick with silence. The only sound was the soft hum of the suit and Ethan's steady breathing. Liana watched him, carefully. Her face was pale but calm. How far now? She asked quietly. About 3 miles, Ethan answered. Then comes the last climb, the hill where the signal tower stands. She swallowed hard. That sounds tough, Ethan nodded. It will be. The hill is steep, with loose rocks. He took a deep breath, focusing on the path ahead. The exosuit's motors whirred quietly as he adjusted his balance to keep carrying her safely. The canyon opened into a small clearing and Ethan paused to rest. He set Liana down gently on a flat rock. She looked up at him, concern in her eyes. You look tired, she said softly. I am, he admitted, but I can't stop now. Liana reached out and touched his arm. You don't have to be a machine. Ethan smiled weakly. I'm not a machine, I'm just stubborn, she smiled back. Good stubborn. After a few minutes, Ethan lifted her again. His suit gave a small warning beep and then went silent. The battery was empty. He froze for a moment, the weight suddenly heavier. The suit no longer helped him. He looked down at Liana. I'm going to carry you without the suit now. She nodded. I trust you. Ethan took off the bulky helmet and opened the suit's arm clamps. The heavy metal parts clanked as he moved them to the side. His body felt different. No help from motors. No extra strength from machines. Only his own arms and heart. He lifted Liana carefully and began walking toward the hill. The path was steep and rocky. Loose stones slipped under his boots. His breath came faster. Sweat ran down his forehead. Every step was harder than the last. Liana held tightly to his neck, whispering encouragement. You're doing great, Ethan. Just keep going. He gritted his teeth. Almost there. The hill seemed endless. The sky above was bright with stars. The silence was deep. At one point, Ethan stumbled on a loose rock. He almost fell, but Liana held him steady. You okay? She asked. He nodded. Yeah, just tired. They moved slowly up the slope. Ethan's legs burned, his arms ached, but he refused to stop. He thought of the team waiting for rescue. He thought of the hope in Liana's eyes. He thought of the promise he made. Suddenly, Liana spoke softly but with strength. If you had the strength, you'd carry me too. Ethan looked at her, surprised. What do you mean? He asked. You don't have to be the only one strong, she said. We carry each other. That's what makes us human. Ethan smiled through his pain. They reached a rocky ledge near the top. The signal tower stood there, a tall metal pole with blinking lights. Ethan lifted his arm and pressed a button on his wrist. The beacon activated, sending a bright signal into the sky. A voice came through his helmet's radio. "This is the rescue team. We see your signal. Hold tight. We're coming." Relief flooded through Ethan's tired body. He set Liana down carefully. They sat together on the cold rock, watching the stars. Liana reached out and took Ethan's hand. "You did it," she said quietly. "We did it," he corrected. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to rest. He closed his eyes and smiled. Because he knew no machine, no suit, no storm could stop them. Humans carry each other. Always. The rescue shuttle landed softly on the rocky ground near the signal tower. Its bright lights cut through the dark night. Ethan was already exhausted. His legs shook, his arms trembled. But he still held Liana in his arms. The shuttle doors opened, and two medics ran out quickly. They rushed to Ethan and Liana. "Commander Ward, we've been tracking your signal," one medic said. "We'll get you both to safety." Ethan lowered Liana gently onto a stretcher. She looked at him with tired eyes and a weak smile. "You did it, Ethan," she whispered. "You really carried me all this way." He smiled back, too tired to speak. His body ached everywhere. The medics helped Ethan into the shuttle. Inside, they gave him water and checked his vital signs. Liana was moved to the medical bay, where she was cleaned and dressed. As the shuttle lifted off, Ethan looked out the window. The alien planet grew smaller and smaller beneath them. Liana came to the window next to him. Her legs were still weak, but slowly healing. "You saved my life," she said quietly. "And you saved mine," Ethan replied. The shuttle reached the orbiting space station. Doctors and scientists waited to meet them. Ethan was carried on a stretcher to the medical bay. Liana followed, holding his hand. In the bright hospital room, the team gathered around. "You were incredible," the lead doctor said. 3 days carrying someone through alien terrain without stopping. Your strength and heart saved her." Ethan looked at Liana, feeling proud but humble. "It wasn't just me," he said. "She never gave up either." Liana smiled. "We carried each other." The doctor nodded. "That's the true meaning of strength." Days passed, and Liana's legs slowly healed. Ethan recovered too. They spent time together, sharing quiet moments. One evening, Liana sat beside Ethan's bed. He was still weak but smiling. "I want to thank you," she said softly. Ethan reached out and took her hand. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "I did what any human would do." She smiled warmly. "Maybe, but not everyone has your courage." Ethan shook his head. "It wasn't courage. It was love, loyalty, the will to never leave someone behind." Liana looked into his eyes. "Then promise me something." "Anything. Next time I'll carry you." Ethan laughed softly. "Deal." They both knew that no matter what challenges waited in the stars, humanity's greatest strength was their bond, how they carried each other through the darkest times, and that strength would never fade.